Hi, I'm Scott Dixon, and I am the head coach of Infantry Nordic Sword. We're going to review some of our athletes' classic technique, diagonal stride in particular. Here's one of our best athletes. So the items of feedback that we've given this athlete are a little bit more precise, and they make slightly finer changes to the technique rather than at the beginning when we're really focusing on the big changes. So let's just review his technique to begin with. It's pretty good, and you can see the conditions aren't perfect, so we're using cluster here, and the grip is a bit hit and miss, but nevertheless, this is a good indication of where this athlete is at. Now, can you spot anything that you would change in his technique? Well, let's start with what's working really well. First of all, I really like his body position. So this is the load phase. He's loading his weight on this leg. He's got a nice high kick, so he's got full body weight commitment on his right foot. And then just look at his body coming down. It's instigated by his left hand here. And I'm going to retract this arrow so it's not just covered in arrows. I've got a bad habit for that. And then as his left hand goes down, pull into the ground, he is compressing all of his body weight down over the ball of his foot. Critically, the ball of his foot. Diagonal stride, that's what it's all about. How is he doing it? Well, he's doing it really well because he's actually doing a really good job of getting his hip through. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty good, especially for somebody who's just come onto snow and has only been on snow for a couple of days. So this is impressive, and you can see here he's got his left hip forward, and now he's going to throw his right hip. At this point right now, they're kind of aligned with each other, and now his pelvis rotates, right foot comes forward. Boom, there he is. So it's nice. The technique is looking good. What is a critical issue that I can see? I would say the use of his arms. He's not fully releasing his poles. He hasn't got a perfect arm rhythm. So we did some one-to-one work with Matthew Cornicle, British Biathlon Union athlete, hoping to compete in the World Cup and perhaps beyond. And we did a few drills where we're trying to elongate this athlete's stride. And by elongate, I mean you're going at the same speed, but you're lowering the frequency. It forces you to really get a good kick, get your weight over the ball of the foot. If you cannot get the weight over the ball of the foot, you are going to slip. That is because you're doing less kicks for the same speed. So he does well here. But now we want to get the rhythm going a little bit more smoothly. And if you look at the likes of Niskanen, when he skis, he's just got the most amazing classic technique. And I can't wait to do a wee review of that. Because over time, the classic just gets more and more enjoyable, particularly for me as a biathlete. When I started coaching classic skiing, I really didn't like it. But then when I learned the magic of getting the technique right, it transformed my experience doing diagonal strides. So here is one of the things that we've done with this athlete. Matt is doing an example here. I would like you to just pay very close attention to his wrist here. Look at how his wrist is like doing this kind of wavy motion. In diagonal stride, you really want to have a loose wrist. Like I don't know, those people who are like, in front of the choir or whatever it is, the orchestrator or some person, they're like doing this with their wrists. It's like that. You're really being super loose. Right now, he's then doing an example of what our athlete was doing. He stops at his hips. Yeah, so take a look here. He does an example of where the athlete is stopping his hands, or, he's exaggerating a little bit there. And that disrupts the entire rhythm. The hands have to continue back a little bit further. And then look at how Matt's upper body is continuing in this rising and fall motion here. So now, again, doing a very elongated stride, trying to get this athlete to roll his wrist, and you can see him do that very well. So it's a nice smooth rolling of the wrist. Let's just watch that again, just specifically looking at his wrist, and I'm going to zoom in. Let's put that here. And I'm just going to put that in slow motion. So his wrist is fluid. In and then smooth back. Okay, so there's work to be done, but as far as I'm concerned, a really, really good start of getting the pole to release without throwing it back. There's no attempt to throw the pole back there. So, awesome. Okay, so now, looking at how he's compressing on the ball of his foot, he is going faster now, so it's a bit easier when you pick up the speed in diagonal stride. But combining that with a big flowing motion, what I would like to see, and the goal was to fully extend the arm, in every single stride I would like to see him straightening his arm. At the moment, what we've got is a slightly bent elbow at the back of the phase here, so you can see his wrist is perfect, mission accomplished in that sense, but then you've got this degree of change in his arm, so it's like slightly bent, and then that could be completely straightened up, and you can see he does do it like now. Watch here, there, much straighter. So he's managing to do it, but he's not using he's not fully contracting his tricep. By that I mean straightening his arm. Very nice. So lovely flick of the wrist. Okay, so this is just a look back at the start where you can see he's almost stopping his hands by his hip, and that is limiting the entire motion of diagonal stride. Versus here at the end, you can see that his hands are coming back a little bit further, and it's a smoother rhythm. I'm just going to let that roll as I summarize. So the goal of this drill was very simply, in about a 15 to 20 minute session, was to get this athlete to do a much smoother diagonal stride, thinking of the pendulum, trying to use the hands to control the entire motion. And here is those one-to-one sessions where we're working on that pole release and having a very fluid wrist. Now, I would like to talk you through some things that I would go on to work on. So this athlete now, imagine I'm talking to him specifically, where would I go next? What am I looking to solve here? So I'm really, really happy with this left foot coming through. He's bringing his hips through really well, compressing down on the ball of the foot. That's awesome. And then here, you can actually see that this athlete is slightly limited in his hip flexibility. So I would be working on some stretches so that he can kick his foot back higher. And if you look at pictures of Niskanen, he's got his foot, this is a ski, he's got his foot up like this. That's how stretched back his heel goes. And that means that he's able to get the momentum from kicking it back through and forward. And that's what I would be working on here. So that's the next step. But also just take a look at how good this is. I pointed out in a previous classic video, I want the head to be over the ball of the foot. And here at the kick point, I would be trying to get the athlete to look something like that. So we're moving just by creating an angle at the toe to the knee. He would be bringing his, the toe to the knee. He would be bringing his body over the kick zone even more than it already is. You can see just at the compression point, he's almost, as he's bringing his right foot through, he, at this point here, should have his hip there, right over the kick zone. So the point of greatest pressure, he should be over the kick zone completely, but his hips are back. So I would be working on that with this athlete as well. So it's getting a much more effective kick, particularly on his right foot here, so that the ski is higher and his foot is back here. I'm being a little bit dramatic with these arrows, as I always am. That's problem number one that I would work on. Problem number two is at the kick phase, I would not be dropping at the hips. as he is currently doing. And let's just take a look at that one more time. So you can see just before he kicks, yes, he's bending at the knee, which is awesome, but he's also using his quad too much. So watching the hip come back, he's kicking, and now watch how his hips fall back now. And that's all about crushing the tomato, ball of the foot exercises that you've already heard 1,000 times. So I won't go into them now. But in any case, this is awesome. This was, he's got a great technique. We're refining things as opposed to reinventing the wheel. And yeah, fantastic. So I will leave you with that. If you've got any questions or comments, please let me know. And this is for the benefit, hopefully, of Infantry Nordic Sword, where we're trying to give a broad overview of people's different techniques so that we know what to work on, what are the steps to progress most rapidly for all of our athletes as a whole. So thank you again for watching, and I look forward to the next one. Bye.